This is a Merrick Studios podcast.
Today's guest is Michael Ross, a Los Angeles native, former DJ, record producer, and the co-founder of Delicious Vinyl, the independent label that helped prove hip-hop could dominate the pop charts. Delivering crossover hits like Tone Loc's Wild Thing, Funky Cold Medina, and Young MC's Bust a Move, the label built a roster including The Far Side, the Brand New Heavies, Master Ace, and the legendary Jay Dilla. Described by Variety magazine as influential, improving hip-hop's pop crossover potential, Michael helped create the blueprint that the industry still follows. This is Mixed and Mastered with Michael Ross. Welcome to Mixed and Mastered, the podcast where the stories of the music industry come to life. I'm Jeffrey Sledge, bringing you real conversations with the people who have shaped the sound of music. We're pulling back the curtain on what it takes to make it in the music business. These are the stories you won't hear anywhere else, told by the people who live them. This is Mixed and Mastered.
Hey, football fans, you could win a once-in-a-lifetime trip to the 2026 Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrinement events, in person, in Canton. How do you kick this off? Grab Snapdragon apples at your local store, then go to snapdragonapple.com for official rules and enter. No purchase necessary. Ends February 28th, 2026. Open to U.S. residents 18 and older. Void where prohibited.
Mixed and Mastered with an esteemed guest, a big maka.
Right. Yeah, big gun. More like a squirt gun.
Ah, shit. Michael Ross, co-founder of Delicious Vinyl. I'm really excited to talk to you, man. You know,
Cool, man.
I'm from afar. We've never met, but from afar, I'm a fan of what you've done. You guys have done some amazing shit. We rejigged your brand a couple times, and I want to talk about it. So let's start from the beginning. You grew up in Long Beach, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about it.
My family wasn't obviously a part of the record business. Just a normal kid, kind of growing up in kind of middle of Long Beach called El Dorado Park Estates.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tract housing project in the 70s.
Okay.
So grew up in the 70s in Long Beach. Went to Millikan High School, which was a big high school. You know, we played other schools in the area like Lakewood, Wilson, Long Beach Poly, Compton.
Wow.
Jordan.
Okay.
So, you know, I grew up in a kind of a mixed like school and just overall kind of situation.
Yeah.
Jewish, you know, had a bar mitzvah, the whole 9 yards.
Okay. So tell me about your I know this answer, but tell the people about your early musical influences.
Well, I mean, I grew up watching like the Jackson 5 cartoon.
I saw that. That was amazing.
I mean, Michael was, I like really early, something about Michael he blew my mind. I don't know why. Obviously, I know why now, but you know, there was just something about the way he was singing, dancing with his brothers.
Yeah.
I used to get 45s. Like, I remember it's Hanukkah right now. For Hanukkah, like maybe when I was 7 or 8, I got a 45. Well, I got ABC, obviously 45, but I was just thinking Stevie Wonder 45,
Wow.
Living for the City.
Ah.
On 45. I mean, just all like dope shit from the early 70s I was exposed to and just connected to, you know, as I was growing up. So
were you a big Soul Train guy?
Of course, yeah. Soul Train every Saturday. That's kind of a staple.
I
watched American Bandstand too.
Yeah, I did too.
But Soul Train was just, you know, was that on steroids to me because all the artists I wanted to see were on Soul Train.
Soul Train, right.
Plus, you know, the dances. And, you know, you saw Stevie was on Soul Train.
Yeah.
Jackson 5 obviously were on Soul Train, but I also saw the Jackson 5. My parents used to go to Vegas when I was a kid. We used to take trips up to Vegas over like Labor Day and 4th of July and Memorial Day. Those definitely on Labor Day and 4th of July. We used to go to the Jerry Lewis Telethon, stay at the Sahara. And I used to see as a young kid, I saw a lot of artists in Vegas. I saw the Jackson 5 in Vegas in like, you know, 72 or 73.
Back when it was really Vegas.
Yeah. So I saw them live early too. And then, you know, I just progressed, you know, in high school, Earth, Wind and Fire, OJs,
That's dope.
Ohio Players.
All the soulful shit.
Just all the funky shit I was into. But my mom played a lot of Beatles. My dad played Sergio Mendes. They played music.
Yeah.
And they played dope shit. My mom was rock and roller, so Beatles constantly. I heard Sgt. Pepper's a million times just driving in the car with the family. And, she was in the Rolling Stones. My dad was in Sergio Mendes. My dad might have turned me on to Earth, Wind, and Fire early.
Okay.
So he was kind of cool. He was into Sinatra, obviously, and classic shit. But he had an ear for some stuff. So I had all kinds of musical around me.
Yeah. I interviewed Dante Ross on here, and we talked about in New York when we were younger, there was really no black station. So we were listening to like the AM stations, which played all the pop stuff. So we knew about the rock stuff. We knew about Peter Frampton, and because that's what we were hearing on the radio. But and then you go to the street to get the black shit until we got a black station in the city.
That makes sense. Actually, the first concert I ever went to, I think by myself, was Peter Frampton at the Forum.
Wow.
I tell this story. The first joint I ever smoked was at a Peter Frampton concert. They were passing a joint down the aisle. And I remember I was with like 3 of my friends the first time we hit a joint.
Wow.
Frampton Comes Alive tour, like 75 or 6, I think it was. So I was like 14, 15.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah. I worked at Tribe Called Quest. They got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a couple years ago. And so Peter Frampton was in that class.
Oh, right on.
That was the only time I ever saw him perform live. I was excited for the guys as to see Peter Frampton. I was like, yo, Peter Frampton.
Just because you heard that shit a lot growing up, obviously.
Exactly.
But, that's when he just blew up the whole Frampton Comes Alive. Do you feel like I do shit with the vocoder?
Yeah.
You rock that vocoder and,
Yep.
And there was it was a vocoder talk box, and Stevie used to use that shit too. So it was like, he was funky with that shit.
He was funky as shit. He's funky. I love Peter Frampton, man. So I saw that Rapper's Delight really turned you on to getting into rap and stuff.
Yeah, I think the first shit I heard was 79 Rapper's Delight. I mean, I wasn't like picking up raps and soul and funky records in the late 70s. I know like sometimes guys would spit a little bit, but I mean, yeah, Rapper's Delight was the first time I heard just many bars and just like, shit, these guys, I had to learn it right away, I don't know why, but I had to.
Everybody did.
So of course I had to get that right away so I could spit that to the girls. And, it was funky because it was going over Chic too. So it was just like, I already knew that record. And then you hear these guys like rocking on top of it. It was like, that shit was a big bang for sure.
Yeah, man. So tell me about your experience going to UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA was just like, I wanted to go to Berkeley, actually. I got redirected to UCLA.
Okay.
Just like not sure what I want to do yet. I can go to college. I had good enough grades. So I got redirected to UCLA and, just kind of live that life for a minute, that college life.
Yeah.
And, I was always, a lot of parties in college. UCLA was a cool place. Music was starting to pop, whatever. Fraternity parties, like parties around the school. Shit was rocking a little bit, but no hip hop, no really funky shit. This is kind of UCLA in 1981. You know what I mean? But I'm already deep into my shit. And so I don't think I have turntables yet, but I'm already thinking like in college, I was taking classes. I went to DC for a semester and did an internship just to hang out in DC, which was cool. Then I came back and I just was like, I'm going to go all in with music. I got some 1200s, started hanging out with cats that were working with Uncle Jam's Army. They came and did a party that I promoted at my fraternity.
Wow.
And I started hanging out with them in like 82 and got some turntables. I used to hang out at their apartment and just like learn how to DJ.
I was going to ask you about that.
Don Vito the Leo, my man.
I was going to ask you about that. Have that written down and tell me about your DJing experience, because I think it's so interesting to me that in music, guys who DJ'd or still DJ tend to be the best music makers, in my opinion, whether it's Dr. Dre or DJ Premier, or like they always have a DJ background, even if they're not, doing it as much. They always seem to have because they understand music and what moves the crowd and stuff. So tell me about your experience.
Yeah, I mean, I just had an instinct I wanted to play records from way back, not way back, but I remember when I was, in 79, 80. I'm like 17, 18. I'm going to clubs. Some clubs, clubs in LA, and they're not clubs where they're really playing hip hop or anything funky. They're playing kind of Bruce Springsteen and shit. But chicks are there, and you got a girl. You're like, you got to go to the club. It's not the club I wanted to go, but I'd see DJs up there playing whack shit, and I was always thinking, man, if I had all these people and I could play records, I would kill this motherfucking place.
Wow.
And I got my girl with me, and she's paying attention to the DJ, and it's just like, it's always driven by chicks as well, like
always,
you love music,
always,
and you want to get the girls, Yes. So I'm not playing an instrument, but if I can rock this party,
yeah.
And you want to rock the party for the girls. It's not really about the dudes.
No, never. It's not about the dudes. It's about the girls.
Because the dudes are there. They're going to be where the girls are.
Regardless. Yeah. And the girls are going to be looking at you because you're the one spinning.
Yeah. And so I'm, and I want to show off for my girlfriend even. It's like, because she's funky. My girl is like, so we're into like Gap Band, and we're into fucking obviously Earth, Wind and Fire, the Jacksons, whatever, Prince hadn't even really started yet. Prince hadn't really, well, he had, but he hadn't really busted out
the early albums. Yeah.
So that was our connection anyways. And I was like, man, I want to like impress her as well. So, and, I want to play records, but, you want to, it's just that feeling you want. And if you got it, you got to go for it.
Yeah.
So that's when when I start throwing parties at my fraternity at UCLA, I would bring in, I didn't have shit to DJ yet. So I was just bringing who are the dopest DJs I could get. And I got these cats from Uncle Jam's Army to come be the DJs. And so they hadn't really seen that shit at UCLA. It was like, because they were more just like goofy white DJs playing these kind of parties. So if I'm co-signing it, obviously it's going to be funky. I also brought a band, like a funky band, some dudes that used to play with Marvin Gaye and shit.
Wow.
And they did covers. I had them do covers. Wow. The DJs were actually doing the sets in between the band doing the covers. So it was a funky ass party. And, that's like, I was like social chairman of the fraternity at that time. So of course that's the kind of party I'm going to throw.
Yeah.
And so none of these, I've blown some people's minds with like, cause I had dudes in my fraternity were funky. And like, I had friends from Dallas, Texas, shout out to Mark Andres. We'd go see George Clinton and shit like that on the weekends. So he really appreciated it. And he's still a really good friend of mine. And that's where it really kind of started. I got with these dudes from Uncle Jam's Army, because I didn't want to be whack. I wanted to learn like how to mix and blend. I knew records, but I needed, the turntables are kind of like, it's like you're flying a plane. You need to like learn how to fly the plane.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I would just be hanging out at their crib, and they were cool with me because I would start getting gigs now, and they'd bring equipment to the party, and so we were kind of like working as a team, and then I bought some 1200s, and then, that was it from then on. And I'm already, now I'm DJing, I'm in record pool. I met my partner in the record pool, we were the only white guys in this black record pool in LA, Impact Record Pool. I'm sure you probably know what it is. So we kind of met there, and he was already DJing in a funky club. So I'm in college now, so I'm just kind of riffing on college.
It's grooving.
And the music thing. I met him at a club. A friend of mine who I knew from high school was telling me, dude, you got to go to this club down in Hollywood called the Rhythm Lounge.
Okay.
Like they're playing the kind of shit you're playing, and most people don't even know what you're doing over here with this music. You got to go there. And so I went down there, and my future partner was DJing there. And, like Jeffrey Daniels from Shalimar's in there, fucking, Boogaloo Shrimp, Turbo, dudes from Breakin', dancers are in there, Tony Basil, big choreographers in there. And he's playing just funky R&B and hip hop. And I'm just like, this is the shit down here.
You found your people.
Ice-T would be rapping there.
Wow.
So that all converged in around 1983. And then I graduated and moved to Hollywood, and was just hanging out with Matt, my partner at that point. We were both DJing, just buying records. And that was like the shift from college to like, okay, I'm going to hang out and do this shit. And I'm already decided I'm going to DJ and do the music thing already, like probably junior, senior year in college.
Cool.
So that's kind of how it shifted,
Tell me about your I'm gonna skip forward just a shady bit. I wanted to talk about when you first went to New Music Seminar, which was like such a big thing,
Right.
in that era where people could meet. I think I might have physically met Paul Stewart for the first. We used to talk on the phone. I think I physically met him at the seminar because, as you know, people would come from all over the country. So tell me about your experience with New Music Seminar.
How old are you?
I'm 61.
Okay, so I'm a couple years older than you.
Yeah.
New Music Seminar. Okay, so now that I'm DJing in Hollywood, hanging out with my future partner Matt Dyke, he's got this huge club called Power Tools, where that's like the kind of club in Hollywood is kind of popping up. He started Rhythm Lounge, then he started this club with John Seidel, another dude from LA. I don't know if you might not know who he is, but they started this club called Power Tools, which was kind of a little bit of a bite of Area. If you ever went to New York City and went to Area, Area was like they'd have all these installations and they'd be playing, dope music. And it was just a place to be. They kind of created their own version of that called Power Tools in LA, 1985, I think it started.
Okay.
So how do we get to Power Tools? What were you talking about?
You're talking about the New Music Seminar.
Oh, right. So it really has nothing to do with Power Tools, but
good.
Anyways, I'm DJing with my partner. He's got this dope club that he's like, Beastie Boys are coming in there and like trying and doing a live set in like 85.
Wow.
Chili Peppers are playing there. Jane's Addiction is playing there. So there's live music and it's DJ. So Matt's DJing. He's like the main DJ. I would DJ with him there because we're homies. All kinds of, everyone came through that spot. So while that's going on and we're like getting more into the music scene that's happening, this is 84, 85. So everything's, you got everything going on. You got the early hip hop scene in New York happening. It's not even early now. It's kind of 83, 84. But, we're getting all these records because we're in record pools. So we're getting all this shit from all the indie labels in New York. So Next Plateau, obviously Tommy Boy Profile. You're getting vinyl every week from the record pools of these, like, all your idols at this point, like Run DMC, obviously, Houdini, whatever the fuck, then you're getting like, the Aleem Brothers, Release Yourself from some independent label. Exactly. So there's that kind of not Afro, it's like electric boogaloo funk shit that they're doing with obviously Soul Sonic Force and the Russell Brothers, if you know who the Russell Brothers are. But
Arthur Baker.
We're just getting all these dope records, like from indie labels. Some, not any majors are really doing the hip hop shit, but there's still funky R&B shit you're getting early. You're getting obviously all Prince, early 12 inches. You're just getting dope shit. So being in the record pool, you're getting all the new shit. And a lot of it's whack too, and you just sell it and get rid of it. But so there was that happening. And then I decided, me and him didn't really think label yet, but rocking parties. This originally started with DJing. So DJing parties, DJing in the clubs. This is kind of what you're doing 24/7 at this point. So just from that point, like you said, producer, label, it kind of works together. If you're a DJ first, obviously everyone who's in the music business, you think it's probably into music, but when you're touching records and you're starting to play music and getting deep into it, that's gonna take you deeper into the music. And then, then the drum machines start popping off and you got the SB12. And then DJs can become producers maybe a lot easier than they could have in the past.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm sure, Premier Dre, all those cats, like once you got a sampling drum machine, it opened up the floodgates. And then guys who already were doing it, Herbie Lovebug, obviously Molly Mall. You're seeing these guys' names now on records that you're getting from the record pools, and you're starting to feel a little bit closer to it. So I know I'm kind of morphing into how we started the label, but it was really more starting as just being a DJ and being into the music, which was kind of your initial question, how it got there.
Yeah. What was the spark that made you and Matt decide to do a label?
Well, being in a record pool, playing records in the clubs, you're getting a lot of records from independent record labels that you wouldn't normally see, like back in the day when you're seeing whatever, like Columbia Records and Warner Brothers, all you're seeing like labels like I said, like Next Plateau or I mean, Tommy Boy, obviously,
Yeah, Cold
Profile
Chillin',
Records.
Wild Pitch, Profile. Yeah.
Wild Pitch, all that shit. So the independent do-it-yourself label thing is popping off in New York, obviously. You're seeing it. I mean, even started before that, obviously. Remember, Earl of Pearl Monroe had his own label, Pearl Records.
Yeah, Pearl Records. Yep.
But that was in the 70s.
Yeah.
But New York always had probably a lot of indie labels, you know, but
you did.
These are indie labels that are putting out like new shit, like hip hop shit that now we're getting closer to ourselves because we're deep in this shit. We're playing these records, and then now we're going to get a drum machine. We can start sampling our records, and maybe we can do this the way Rick Rubin's doing this at Def Jam.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Molly Mall's making records. Herb Lovebug for Next Plateau doing Salt and Pepper and Dana Dane. And they're sampling big records that we're playing all the time, records that anybody who's DJing or who's into funk and soul, we know these records like kind of the back of our hands. You know, Cinderfella, Dana Dane, you know, he's playing Daz, you know, which record we play all the time. So it just got closer and closer to like, let's do it ourselves. I got a gig at MCA working as an intern.
Okay.
Because my father's business partner knew Irving Azoff, and I met him once, and I was like, he was running MCA Records at the time.
Okay.
This is like mid-'80s, early 80s. And I wanted to see what happens. Me and Matt were probably talking about, man, we should do our own shit. Like, Ruben's doing this shit. All these independent labels, but we can make records. I think we can do shit as dope as this, you know? We don't really, you know, we got to be a little bit arrogant to get in anyways. You know what I mean?
You do.
So I got an internship at MCA to kind of just, well, I want to work for free. Well, where do you want to work? He thought I'd want to work like in the rock department or the pop department. It's like, no, I want to work in the black music department. And at the time they had One Way at MCA. I already knew that. And they had OG, old school, like Patti LaBelle. They had Gladys Knight and the Pips kind of towards the end of their career. And then they had One Way. They had Loose Ends.
Yes.
You know, they had like some dope, like soulful shit. And then you had like Colonel Abrams and some house music shit that I wasn't that into, but it was working for them. Anyways, I wanted to go in there and just see what's up. So he goes, okay. He introduced me to Gerald Busby, who's a legend who passed away, but he ran their black music department, and he was like the man. Everybody worked through Gerald. And they had A&R people, Lil Silas, rest in peace, who was a DJ, who was, you know, he hung out and worked with Colonel Abrams really close. I saw that. So I was seeing things, you know. He was like working with these engineers and mostly these engineers at Larrabee Sound, which was a big studio in LA. So I try and get in and just watch a studio session with him just to kind of see, like, I want to make this tangible. I think we can do this, but let's, you know, I hadn't been in a studio yet and just kind of check out what's going on. He wouldn't let me. I had the idea. As soon as I was hearing what he was doing, I had a million ideas too, but he wouldn't let me say shit. He would hardly let me just stand in the studio. I was like, so I just kind of stood in the back.
Stand in the corner.
He didn't want anything to do with me. But Cheryl Dickerson, who's another old school industry legend, was A&R there. And I worked for her. So she'd give me demo tapes. Like, people would submit cassettes to record labels, like, all the time. Like, boxes of that shit. And they had to go through it. The labels had to go through it and, like, give comments and send it back, which would never happen. Well, you know, we're living in a different era. But even
I've done that.
5 years later, that shit didn't exist. But so it's like, I'll listen to all this shit. You know, thinking I got to do something. You know, I want to be productive while I'm there. I want to see what goes on in the studio, and I want them to maybe like listen. I want to play them some music that maybe they should sign, because like Sir Mix-a-Lot, I got early shit on him. That I wanted them to sign Sir Mix-a-Lot, but they weren't even listening to me. So I was just kind of seeing. I just kind of was peeping what was going on. So it was kind of a good year where I was there just 3 days a week, but just doing shit to kind of get an idea of what's going on at a label, you know? So obviously we were thinking about it at that point. And then we just decided, you know, I at that point, it was like, there was nothing more. They weren't going to let me sign music there. I think they just made the Uptown deal at that time. So Uptown was going through MCA. So they kind of had it handled at that point with Andre Harrell and Heavy D. That was like the first shit they put out. But I wanted them to sign shit directly to the label, you know, like, but anyways, they weren't having that. And it was just like, it was a time to like, let's do our own thing. This is like 86.
Okay.
And so let's try and see if we can, even though we had no idea, like we had no one signed to the label. We were just gonna start making beats and working on music and then find a rapper. That was kind of like, that's how Delicious Vinyl started, really.
How'd you come up with the name Delicious Vinyl?
My partner Matt found a business card that had delicious sandwiches on it. It was a sandwich shop somewhere. He found it at some like Cliff Art store. And he came back to our little home studio one night with the card because we were trying to think of a name. And we had a lot of bad names. I'm really into basketball. I think I wanted to call us like Fast Break Records. You know, it's like the corniest shit ever, right? Because, you know, maybe I was thinking about Pearl, but you know, what did that do? I was like I'm a huge Laker fan, so this is during Showtime, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Showtime Records, you know, corny shit. But he came in with the card this day and he goes, dude, this guy's eating a record. He was really eating a sandwich. We should call the label this Delicious instead of the sandwiches Vinyl, Delicious Vinyl. It's the guy eating the vinyl.
Wow.
And it was like a super dope logo. And obviously logos are huge.
Super dope.
So that, you know, we had that pretty much right when we decided we were going to start doing it. It became official. We had a name.
Wow.
Our label had a name.
Yeah.
You know, so we're just going to put out dope shit. Like that's the idea. Like right from the jump. Like we're arrogant. We're DJs who are now fucking around with making beats on a, you know, SB12, you know, and in DIY, baby, we're gonna make this happen.
So did you guys produce Wild Thing for Tone?
Yes.
Wow. So how'd you find Tone and did you? I mean,
well, the best story is how we found Tone. So me and Matt started passing drum machines back and forth, like probably in 85, 86, just goofing around on drum machines.
Okay.
We had this sequential drum machine. I don't know if it's a drum machine you could put cartridges in and get sounds like 808 drum sounds, or it had stock sounds. So we just make beats on it. It was kind of just, you can't sample on it. So we just make different beats and then we pass it back and forth. You couldn't save anything.
Oh,
it was
wow.
just trying to like trip each other out with making like drum beats, you know?
Yeah.
And copy, you know, just copy shit you're hearing 808 like Mantronics or fucking whatever, like loose ends, like 808 drum, you know, the 808 drum machine sounds were kind of happening at that point.
Yeah.
Paul Hardcastle, all these fuckers were killing the 808, you know?
Yep.
So it had an 808 cartridge. So, you know, we could just, you know, whatever, just mess around with it. And Matten was beats, I even noticed then, like his beats were super dope. I mean, but they just sounded like, man, dude's like really making dope beats on this thing. But then all the beats would get, they wouldn't be saved, so it would glitch and you'd lose all the beats. So then we'd make a bunch of other beats and keep doing it. Anyways, that was just kind of thing we were just doing, goofing around when we'd be record shopping or whatever. So once the SV12 came out, like in 86 or 87, like right when we're starting the label, it made things a lot easier to make beats. Because you could sample your records, you know, you didn't have I think the first SV12 only had like 5 seconds of sampling time. Then the SV1200 came out, it had like 10 seconds. But you could speed up samples and shit or whatever. You could really sample your shit and be making beats at the same time, and all in one could come out of the drum machine. So we started making beats, and then it's like we got to find a rapper. And I thought the beats, you know, we have similar tastes. We're like sampling like sample records that we like. Matt's like really good at doing the drums, and we're plucking records. It's just, you know, it's kind of like you get better as you go along. And you're already funky, or you believe you're funky to begin with. So, you know, the beats you're going to make are going to be funky. That's at least the way we thought, you know. It's like, we're not going to make whack shit. And if it's whack, we'll fix it, you know. We'll know, you know. I don't know. It's just like basically common sense if you really are into the music like that. So, and remember, you got guys, like I said, like Molly Mall, you got Ruben, you got dudes that are already making. Dre hasn't quite got into that yet because he's still on the LA tip. He's with he's with the World Class Wrecking Crew. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, huge influences, obviously. They're doing shit with, you know, this, they did a killer record with Ice-T called Cold Wind Madness, where, you know, you're listening to their production Obviously, they produced Climax, SOS Band.
Yeah,
You're
that's
listening,
what I did.
obviously, records you like, you're listening to production. You're paying attention to the producers.
Mm-hmm.
Jam and Lewis were a huge influence on me personally.
Okay.
My partner, his influence was everything too. So we're going to make dope music, at least in our minds we are, and we need a rapper. So how are we going to find a rapper? I mean, we know Ice-T, but he's got his own thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Ice-T used to rap at this club, the Rhythm Lounge.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in this record pool, and they know more motherfuckers than we do. So I called, I don't know if you know Tracy Kendrick and Danny Foot James ran Impact Record Pool. Okay. So I just called them up and said, you know any rappers? Because me and my boy are making beats. We want to start a label. We need a rapper. It was like literally like that. And he goes, well, there's this dude whose cousin raps. And he gave me the dude's number. He goes, yeah, my cousin raps. Here's his number. His name is Tone. So I just basically cold call somebody who I got his number from the record pool from a cousin, right?
Wow.
And Tone answers the phone and just has this really, what's up? The voice was like crazy. And I just kicked him what me and my partner were doing. And he goes, are you interested? Do you think, I could pick you up if you don't have a car, which he didn't. I just brought him over to the studio. Literally the first guy we fucked with. And Tone just had this voice. And we were really, obviously, second wave of hip hop's happening right now. So you got obviously Rakim is everyone's just tripping out on Rakim. Mm-hmm. This whole new laid back kind of style.
Yeah, the style. Yeah. Yeah.
Eric Sermon, obviously. Yeah, EPMD. Mm-hmm. So you got all that going on. We wanted to kind of work with a rapper that kind of sounded more like on the laid back tip, just because we're not going to find Rakim, but fuck it. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Tone had this great voice, and it's like right where we wanted to be. So that's where we started. And me and Tone would just, I just pick him up at his house, bring a quarter ounce of weed to the studio, and we just playing beats, and he'd start writing rhymes, or he'd take tapes home. Wow. And that's basically how it started.
Wow, that's amazing that's your first artist and you go number one with your first fucking art. That's crazy.
Well, Tone was we knew immediately when we heard him start rapping how dope he sounded on the mic. He was just cool. He's cool as fuck. His style was just incredible. He sounded like Barry White.
He
as
did.
An MC. Mm-hmm. He really did. And Tone, with just tons of charisma, and he's super cool. And me and him had tons of things in common, even though he grew up in LA, I grew up in Long Beach, but we just totally got along from the get-go. And we just started working it out together. Wow. He'd have to work for a while on some rhymes, then he'd come to the studio, and then we just work with him in the studio, and now we're trying to produce records.
Yeah. Wow. So I saw
Wild Thing wasn't the first record. We had a bunch of other records before that. He had a bunch of we put out a bunch of 12 inches on Tone before that came out.
Okay. Now, so the Wild Thing video cost you $500.
Yeah,
how was that possible? I mean,
we didn't really have a lot of money at that point, and we didn't have a lot of money. And when you don't have a lot of money, you make things work.
Yeah.
My partners had a friend who was shooting videos. She came from film school. Her name was Tamara Davis. She's a big time director now.
Uh-huh.
She hadn't shot a rap video yet, so as a favor, she cut us a huge favor and made this killer video for $500. And so we had to just, she was basically paid for the costs. We shot it at a friend of her studio, this guy named John Scarpati, where we shot a lot of the Bust a Move video as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we got this, we got the space for free. We had to buy film, and, Tamara got the cameras, and she did all the editing for free. And, just that's how you make it happen.
So is it, I got to ask this question. Is it such a mind fuck that with this $500 video and it's this cat's cousin that you met, you literally have the biggest record in the country? Is it kind of how do we do this? So it's oh yeah, we knew we were going to do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, you never expect something quite like that, but we started making records and started the label in fall of 1987. So that's when we're messing around making beats. Obviously, we don't even have a 24 track in our home studio yet. I think we're just getting to that point. Mario Coldato, I mean, all this is known, so I don't know if this is the direction you want me to talk about all this stuff, but I will if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
But He was the engineer. He engineered at this club, Power Tools. He was a sound engineer. The sound was really fucked up in that club I was talking about, Power Tools. Mario one day went up to Matt and said, like, your sound sucks in this place. You have this huge club. You got all these people in here and people are going crazy, but your sound's terrible. I think it might have been after the Beastie Boys live show like blew up.
Okay.
The sound, they couldn't even really perform because the mics blew. There's all this feedback and it wasn't really set up yet to do it right. So Mario wanted to make sure that doesn't happen again, which were great instincts, good instincts for a sound guy and an engineer. Like, you guys are capturing, you got magic going on here, but you're blowing it because your sound's all fucked up. So that works in the studio as well. You know, you always need someone who can capture the magic. If you're creating a vibe and you're making music or you got musicians in there or you got a rapper, you just don't want to ever like lose it. You know, you want to make sure everything's on point.
Yes.
But Mario had that instinct from the get-go. And as we all started making records together, you know, he just got better and better at setting the stage for the magic to happen and then helping, you know, create, you know, the sounds that we need to have to make this shit work. And it was tons of trial and error. We're working on records. So like I'm saying, we're making records, we're mixing records, we're trying to figure out how shit sounds good. We haven't even mixed and mastered. We hadn't even mastered a record yet. We made a 12-inch with Tone. This record called On Fire was the A-side. The B-side was Chiba Chiba, which is a Maybe Your Baby, just sampling Maybe Your Baby, Stevie Wonder, and rapping about weed, Chiba Chiba. So it was like a 5-verse, like 7-minute song about weed. That was the B-side. A-side was a You Got the Love, Rufus Chaka Khan sample, funky shit with Tone just rapping over it. This rap just on just how hot he is, basically. And that was the first 12-inch that we put out. But as you're making records now, we're learning how to really like produce a record. We're learning how to master a record, listen to it in the club, hear how it sounds. Put it up against records you know are dope. It's like, we ain't there yet. You know, we had to go back to the drawing board a bunch of times. So that whole year, we were just getting better at what we were doing as far as making records. But we were putting out wax. Like Tone had 2 or 3 12 inches out before we ever dropped Wild Thing. Young MC, you know, another rapper I found through a friend at Rock and Soul Records in New York. He was going to USC at the time. And he rapped for me over the phone, just all these crazy kind of just pop culture reference, very much like kind of a Dana Dane meets Fresh Prince style. Super clever though.
Yep.
Just verses, tons of verses. Funny, made me laugh out loud. Brought him to the studio, immediately started working with him. We're building up, making beats. We're bringing in artists now and just getting them, you know, seeing who can come with dope shit over the beats. And that's really how it started. Young was the second rapper we put out. We put out some 12 inches on him. I mean, long before Bust a Move came out. I mean, a year and a half.
Yeah.
Wild Thing came out like a year after Tone put out probably his first 12-inch.
And we'll be right back.
Welcome to Merrick Studios, where stories take the mic and culture comes alive.
We're not just a network, we're family, bringing you smart, soulful, unfiltered conversations.
And this season, we're bringing the heat with our biggest lineup yet. Whatever you're into, music, sports, business, we got you covered.
Merrick Studios, where the conversation starts and keeps going.
Check out our full lineup, including Unglossy with Bun B, Jeffrey Sledge, and myself, Tom Frampton. Now streaming at wearemerrickstudios.com.
Master the art of lyricism with Pendulum Mink, the first school for rap. Learn elite techniques through immersive lessons, real-world exercises, and guidance from hip-hop icons. This is where MCs sharpen their skills and glow boldly on the mic. Ready to level up? Visit pendulummink.com and start your journey today.
And now, back to the show.
How long after Wild Thing did Funky Cole Medina drop?
4 months later. We didn't even have Funky Cole Medina recorded yet when we dropped Wild Thing.
Wow.
We didn't even have an album. Wild Thing was just a track we had worked on. We didn't have an album done yet. So we put out Wild Thing. I mean, this is more of the executive story if you want to hear like how I got deals and how that all happened.
I definitely do want to hear that.
So we can kind of get mixed up in everything at once here. But we're talking about the music. But so as we start the label in 87, which I'm sure this is the part you kind of want to kind of get the idea, like kind of know how we got it going. And then, so we're putting out records by ourselves. So the first Tone Loc 12-inch, there's independent distributor who presses up your wax in LA in Santa Monica called Rainbow Records. It's not even there anymore.
Yep, Rainbow Records.
But that's where we send our, we'd give them our masters. They make acetates. They'd send us test pressings, and I'd go down there and pick up the records.
Yep.
So McCullough was right near us, but we didn't fuck with McCullough. For some reason, I used Rainbow, maybe because I saw them on some other LA records. And I go, this is where we got to like get our records pressed if we want to. So we're totally independent at that point. So all those first 12 inches, we're just doing ourselves. And then we're taking records up to KDAY.
Wow.
So that's another part of the story. But that's all in the first year. We're making our own records. We're getting them. We're tweaking them. We're repressing them. I'm getting 500 records in boxes. And my boy, Orlando Aguian, who worked with us on the streets, would go to the swap meets with him. And I'd send him to New York because I used to collect records at Rock and Soul Records in New York City.
Yeah, that's my favorite record store ever.
So that's where, and I learned about that place when I went to the New Music Seminar. I overheard like the place you got to go to find new shit is Rock and Soul. So I took the subway to Rock and Soul. Because I think the first year I went to the New Music Seminar, I was like 85 maybe.
Okay.
And I didn't even know New York City that well. But I knew I got to get to Rock and Soul. And I think that's where I got Criminal Minded maybe. For sure, I got all the early hip hop shit there.
Okay.
And I'd bring it back to LA. I got Breaks and Beats records from Rock and Soul and brought them back there.
Yeah.
Rock and Soul was the shit. Like that was kind of like, that was a huge record store for me.
Yeah. I would just hang out.
If you live in New York, you could kind of live there, but I live in LA. So when I was there, I raided the place. I got break beats from there. And one of the 12-inch buyers there, we stayed in contact. His name was Eric Llewellyn. And so at that point, I'm just a DJ. I'm nobody. I'm just in there buying records, like any other kid, And I was going to New Music Seminar, like soaking it in. Like New Music Seminar was kind of like working as an intern at MCA. Like, I got to go to this place and see what's going on because this is where the shit's happening. I remember Dougie Fresh. That's the first time I saw Dougie Fresh perform. It just blew my mind. 85. Like he was like one of the artists performing, and Dougie live. And I mean, I hadn't seen a rapper perform like that. Like, Dougie was fully fucking fleshed out.
A showman. He was
one of the greatest performers ever, as he still is.
It still is.
And that's my guy. But I was starstruck, that's Dougie Fresh. And man, he's beatboxing, he's dancing his ass off, he's smooth as shit. Dougie Fresh, I mean, man. So, and I'm DJing at this point, but that shit's blowing my, I'm just like Tommy Boy. I remember Tom Silverman's on the dais up there, and I think Ruben was up there, and they're doing like, conferences on like aspects of the business. How do you put out records on your own? When do you deal with a major? Like, he kind of putting you on game. Like, if you want to get in this game for real, these are things you need to know, which was a great service to someone like me, who's like, I'm just starting my own label. Like, where else on earth would I go but the fucking New Music Seminar? It was like perfect. I got to thank Tommy Silverman for that again.
Absolutely.
That's my guy. But I've told him about that, but I'm sure tons of dudes kind of came up through the New Music Seminar.
Oh yeah.
But that's how I had the Rock and Soul. That's where I learned about Rock and Soul. And Rock and Soul, Eric Llewellyn became someone who actually ended up working as a promo man for me in the early days. He put me on to Young MC because he knew this kid from Queens. As soon as I'm putting out 12 inches, we're working in LA, but I got to ship at least a box to Rock and Soul. Eric's my guy. He'll put him up for me.
Yeah.
So he's going to put having a 12-inch up in Rock and Soul. I'm like, I don't think there's any bigger moment for me than that. The fact that I could I don't even know if I was worthy of that. He might have been just doing that on the strength.
Yeah.
But he said, but people were buying the record. So he said, he was giving me that kind of feedback is invaluable. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? New York City is what really mattered to us. Because that's kind of our taste where New York hip hop was New York City at that time. You know what I mean? So if you're going to make music and you're into hip hop, all you are is looking at New York City.
Yeah.
So having a 12-inch up in New York City was just like, whoa, Rock and Soul.
Yeah,
with our logo on it, Delicious Vinyl. Like people probably looking, what the fuck is this? But that's what happens in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just make sure the record's as dope. It always was quality control, like this is us. So if this shit's whack, we're done. We're whack.
Cooked. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So never be whack.
Yeah. I saw so you got Tone, you got Marvin, you got Mellow Man Ace, you got like a murderer's row right out the gate.
Yeah, well, dudes are coming through. So people are coming through our studio now. Henry G is who's working with guys, I think with Ice-T's deal, because Eva Lee was working with Ice. They had a deal at Warner Brothers. Ice-T had his whole crew, this 783 crew.
Yeah, 783, yep.
And I think Hen G picked off a few of the guys that were further down on the roster because they might not were going to get any light, and brought them to the studio because I don't know, he must have saw one of our records or been up at KDAY because we were getting some love at KDAY, obviously, which was another big part of our ascent was we had KDAY.
Did the Wild Thing, you know, and Marvin's record, did they react on KDAY right away? Were they quick?
We didn't even hit this way before Wild Thing or that shit. We were giving them our first
the early
12
stuff.
inches.
Okay, got you.
So On Fire, Chiba Chiba from Tone, I Got It Going On, which was an early 12-inch.
Okay.
Young MC's first 12-inch called I Let 'Em Know. KDAY would hit that. You know, Greg Mack, and we knew one of the mix masters turned out to be Tone Loc's DJ, DJ M-Walk.
Okay.
You know, who still works with Tone now. He was working as a mix master there. So we were getting our 12-inch played on KDAY. So that's another thing,
That's
like getting your record on the shelf at Rock and Soul, getting your record played on KDAY. You know, KDAY at this point is playing. It's huge.
Big deal.
So all these things are happening way before, a year before we're getting play now at KDAY. And we're putting out vinyl just on the streets. You know, that's all we're doing. And as that builds, we made a deal with Chris Blackwell at Island Records. So like sometime in like the first year, 87, you know, fall, we start 88 through 88. This friend gets a hold of our music. Eric B and Rakim are leaving 4th and Broadway and Island. They're splitting up for some reason, which obviously we all idoled Eric B and Rakim at that point. And I guess Chris Blackwell was looking for this hip hop thing he's been hearing about. It's like, I need to be in this game a little bit more. He heard a demo tape through this friend of ours, and he either liked what he heard or just knew he needed to be in that game. And we were getting co-signed by a couple people at his company. We got in a room with him. We had demos with Tone. We had Young. We had Def Jeff, who we also had signed, Mellow Man Ace. Those four were on. We had 2 tracks on each one of them on a demo tape of the label. That kind of. In subsequent years, I'd take that up to a new music seminar. You know, you pass out cassettes with with different artists you have on your label, just spreading the word. You know.
You had 4 top-notch acts.
Yeah, but we're just trying to just make cool records and get them out any way we can and get people in the know, the DJs, you know, the red alerts. If you can even get play on those stations, like that's a miracle.
That was a big deal back then,
But, you know, especially for an indie label in LA.
Yeah.
So KDAY was there, but, you know, eventually they started playing our shit too. So we get a deal with Island Records at that point. And then the first record we put out on Tone with Island was Wild Thing. And so they had the machine to make it happen a little bit. And there's a lot that led up to Wild Thing that I'm not really telling you, but we're making more tracks on Tone than, you know, It's Tricky, you know, Run DMC pops off big. And my partner is already like deep into metal and rock. And It's Tricky was all of our anthems. We all loved It's Tricky. That shit was so funky. With the My Sharona, you know, sample. And just the way they're bouncing on that track, you know what I mean? And it was big in the clubs, you know?
It was.
And the bitches be like, and It's Tricky, you know?
That too.
And so that was a little bit of a blueprint. Like, that's how Wild Thing kind of developed a little bit. And Tone rapping over that beat with that Van Halen sample.
Yeah.
We had this concept of like, let's do a story rhyme about Tone getting laid, basically. She's Got a Habit had just come out, Fat Five Freddy. I just always remembered him saying, yo, baby, let's go back to my crib and do the Wild Thing in that movie.
Yep.
And I thought that would be a good idea for a hook, you know? Let's just write story about, it'd be kind of a concept record, like, you know, so story rhymes can work. The whole concept, it just, you know, we kind of felt like this shit's, if we have the right promotion behind this record, this thing can really blow up.
And it worked.
I mean, we thought that. So we made that video way before we even put it out. So we made a video for it.
Oh.
And that's before we were in with Island, you know?
So you delivered that video when you did the deal with Island. The video was already
we kind of
done.
already had it. Yeah, we hadn't put it out. We didn't know what we were going to do with it yet.
Realized that.
But we had some hookups because we already were friends with Fat Five Freddy. My partner Matt knew Freddie from his relationship with Jean-Michel back in the day.
Okay.
So Freddie was always a fan of ours. Freddie would come to LA and hang out at Matt's apartment, which was also our studio. So me and Freddie got tight. So all of a sudden Freddie goes on Yo MTV Raps. You know, we had a lot of. I mean, Freddie was. I always tell Freddie, like, I wanted Freddie to be on that record because Freddie kind of rapped a little bit.
Yeah, he did a little bit.
But he didn't want to. At this point, he was just like, it's kind of like LeBron James now playing ball with like the new cats. He can do it, but man, these guys are hungry and they're young and like, I've got this other thing going on now.
Yeah, exactly. I got this TV thing going on.
Yeah,
now, you know.
So, but I always tell him like, you know, you kicking that Wild Thing rap on. She's got to have it. That was the whole concept behind Wild Thing.
Wow.
So initially, that's why I thought maybe he should do it.
Yeah,
because we were already hanging with Freddie at that time, and we were making music at that time, and he'd already been to our studio.
And he was in the movie, so it makes sense.
And he was in the movie, but he didn't really want to rap. And you know, it all worked out best the way it went down.
What I wanted to ask you too is like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Wild Thing and Funky Cole Medina and Busta Move and some of those records are some of the first records I remember being like heavily rap records anyway, being like heavily synced. And commercials and TV and stuff like that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Popular records get synced a lot. That's all you know. Those records were huge records. So, you know, it's hitting the culture on many levels. You know, you can't really even imagine because, you know, you're just living in your own little spot in your own little world.
Yeah.
When a record crosses over to that extent and a video, all of a sudden you're like global. The artist goes from being like nobody. Literally, like hip hop, I think this happens more than probably has happened more than anywhere else, where you just go from not nobody because you've been putting in work, you've been doing your craft. Because you don't just all of a sudden make a record that everyone's going to love because you're lucky. You know what I mean? Like you know what you're doing, but you go from like nothing to like a million, like overnight. It almost feels like, you know, that's crazy. So that is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
About syncing and licensing.
Yeah, so if your record's that big, you know, people that make, you know, that are trying to like sell their products and shit, they need some music to go with it. They're going to take popular shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So popular records always get synced a lot.
Yeah.
And those maybe, you know, timeless records, I mean, It Takes Two probably gets synced a lot too. I would think.
Yeah.
You know, fucking like, you know, Jump Around gets synced a lot. You know what I mean?
It's Tricky or whatever. Those types.
It's Tricky gets synced a lot. I mean, all the classics, even like stuff that's not quite that crossover, you know.
Yeah.
Certain records, I mean, Far Side records get synced a lot, you know.
I want to talk about the Far Side next.
Yeah.
I'm a funny story, I guess. So I worked with a guy, you probably know him, he's passed away, R.I.P. to Sean Karazoff, the captain.
Yeah, I know of him. I didn't really.
We worked together at Jive, and I remember.
Okay, right.
Yeah, we both did A&R.
I know the name. I know he's involved in a lot of different things. I've heard the captain's name a million times.
Yeah, and
for some reason, me and him weren't like homies.
Okay, but he gave me this cassette. He was like, "Yo, Sledge, check this out. I like these guys." And I got this cassette and I listened to it. I remember, like. I wrote, because you know, like you said, you had to listen and you would write notes. And I remember writing a note saying, "I like the guys with the high voices. Like I like these guys." And Passing Me By was on that demo.
Of course.
But obviously you guys signed it. We didn't sign it. But
you might have been able to get it before me.
Yeah.
Because I learned later from Paul Stewart, my homie, who I put on, who worked at Delicious in the early days.
Yep.
He hooked up with them at some convention, and I always felt like he was always bring me the shit first because I'm his homie, and you know, Delicious had its run, and you know, he knows I'd hook him up if he brings it to me, blah blah blah. But he was going for the big bucks. He never told me because we were still we were affiliated with majors, but we were still not funded like a major.
I got you. Yeah,
this is even in '92, right?
Yep.
So, and I'm gonna work with the artists because you know, Delicious Vinyl works a little bit different. I'm usually hands-on with all the artists, at least at that stage, still at that stage. everything kind of has to go through me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work with you and I'm going to give you the deal. I'm going to hook you guys up. So I could get artists that I wanted just because I could speak to them more like artists and give them freedom, you know?
Yes.
Because I'm not even going to fuck with you if I don't like what you're doing already. So let's like do this. A lot of artists have to worry about signing with a major, signing with just a straight A&R guy who's, you know, shit can go wrong, you know, at a label just because you're not being nurtured properly or people fucking with your music don't really know what the fuck they're doing.
Don't know what they're doing. Exactly.
So I always felt like I had that advantage. So the Far Side was always, I felt, would be a no-brainer. But later did I learn from Paul that he took him to Rick Rubin at Deaf American. He'd taken them all through New York. So I guess a lot of people passed on him. So you guys might have been able to sign
We did pass. We passed on him, and
How could you pass on them? That demo was undeniable.
I thought so. I mean, I guess, you know, you're in the game long enough. You get these stories. I got a few of them of stuff.
Right.
Like, how you guys didn't fucking hear that? But
well, if everyone heard the same demo I did, because I know the demo I heard, and I know Paul brought it in my office with my girl Leslie Cooney and Lamar Algie. I remember everything. I mean, I could tell you everything that happened. They gave me this demo of this group. The dude, you got to hear this. These guys are really dope. Paul's like, yeah, I managed them. At that point, I didn't know that he'd already played this shit for 1 million people. That's what makes it even funnier. Because then I put it in. The first song on the demo, it was 3 songs. It was Your Mama, which was I Heard Your Mama. It was like, this shit's hilarious. And the funny voices are coming at you. 3 or 4 different funny voices. And I always love funny voices from the Beast, obviously Beasties, Ram LZ, you name it. Funny voices are always great. Or, you know, and then the second track was Officer, which is over the James Brown sample. They're talking about getting pulled over and begging the officer, like, you know, don't pull him over. They're kind of goofing. It's during the riots. It's a funny fucking record. And then the third record was Passing Me By.
Yep. That's the demo I had.
And I'm like, I'm listening, literally, after I listen to the first 2, I'm hearing like at Trey's verse, when he said something like, I guess a twinkle in her eye is just a twinkle in her eye. I like literally stopped this. I go, what the fuck? Let's bring the group here. Let's go. I'm signing you like right now.
Yeah.
And I could always operate like that. It's like, Paul, what the fuck? Let's go.
Yeah.
So that's how quickly it happened from that point on. And I had to bring them in there and introduce myself to them. And I mean, they were familiar with the label. Obviously, Paul's their manager at this point. So I remember sitting around with all of them and Jay Swift. And Jay Swift was kind of the hustler, negotiator, producer, also mastermind. So Jay had that hustle from day one. So immediately me and him are just kind of, I can see like Jay wants to test me because he knows he knows because he's a producer and he can read a room and he knows he knows how bad I want to sign him because he knows how dope it is. And he knows I know how dope it is. You know what I mean? So he would kind of like make me work for it a little bit, just like making sure like, yo, dude, you guys, I'll take you to the studio right now. Whatever it costs to make the record, we'll make it. I'll lock out a studio. We got to capture the magic. And you guys already got these dope demos. Jay obviously is making crazy ill beats with you guys. You're all together, just like, you know, when you have a super group, you know, just the energy's right. They're young. They're doing backflips. They're ready to do anything.
You're hungry.
And to top it all off, I'm going to put you as the only unsigned group on this record I'm making right now that I'm almost done with. This Heavy Rhyme Experience record that I'm doing with the Brand New Heavies and all like the dopest MCs of the moment that we were working on that record. I don't know if you know that record.
I don't know that record.
You need to know that record.
Okay.
It's called Heavy Rhyme Experience Volume 1. It's got Grand Poobah, Cool G Rap, fucking Master Ace.
Wow.
Black Sheep, all the dopest MCs that like I wanted to fuck with who love the Brand New Heavies. We did, you know, we just did they recorded all these beats and we gave the records to different MCs. They all spit on all these dope Brand New Heavy beats. That record's crazy, dude. You should listen to that record.
I'll listen to it today.
Anyways, the Far Side's the only group that's on that record that's an unknown group. You know, no one even knew who the Far Side was. I gave them the last track for that record. Wow. So I go, I'll put you on this record. And of course, you know, they love Guru. They love, you know, Poobah. They love all the MCs on this, Cool G Rap, Master Ace. So they were like, you're going to put us on this record? Because, you know, they know they haven't been on a record yet. So between that and, you know, yo, let's just start working on this record immediately. That's how
Wow.
that happened. Like, it's,
Wow.
you know, I wasn't going to let them get out the door.
Yeah. I always remember stuff to this. When I was on, I used to wear shag. That line always. I mean, I was like, that's you know, they were incredible.
Dude, that's the money right there.
Yeah, that's the money. That's the money. You know. So I also noticed, like, with Delicious Vinyl, you guys are just as it seems like just as focused on the music as the visuals. Because like the Far Side had the Spike Jones videos, and obviously, you know, Tone and Marvin. Like, was that something that was conscious, like to make great videos, or there was this kind of like you were just kind of doing your thing?
Obviously, visuals really helped the label from the get-go. Starting with obviously Tamara Davis doing the Wild Thing video.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, we made that video for nothing. We had a good concept because we ripped off the Robert Palmer Addicted to Love video.
Yep.
We just put chicks we knew from the club, like friends of ours. One of them, well, a couple of them went on to like Lisa Ann, like she became an actress and was in a bunch of videos.
Wow.
I mean, just having, you know, between my partner and people he knew and just being in Hollywood, we had, and once the label started, we had access to like cool, you know, people that were kind of coming up that we could cast for nothing in some of our stuff.
Yeah.
Which was really lucky on our part. And like talented people like Tamara willing to direct videos for us for nothing because she wants to get, you know, she wants to do some rap shit and get it on her reel to do her shit. So it's always good when everyone's coming up at the same time because everyone can kind of like do favors for each other. So that obviously that video, the way it was executed, you know, piece to Tamara Davis, who I'm still working with on stuff, who's going to actually probably direct the documentary on the label. She's done a million things, you know, Half Baked and CB4. She went and directed a bunch of films. Still is.
She's a G.
She's great. You know, between that, so that, and then MTV ended up playing that video. You know what I mean? So once you got MTV playing a visual and you got a popular song, at that time in 1987, you know, you were like all of a sudden what we were talking about, like going from 0 to 1 million. That's how it goes really quick. Like no one who this Tone Loc, they didn't even know how to pronounce his name. You know what I mean? We didn't even at first because we didn't even understand what that meant. But Tone Loc, that stands, you know, that's a gang thing. Loc is loced out. Like Tone Loc, at the time we didn't even know, like, you know, he was a Crip. But that's a different story for a different day.
Yeah, another day. That's for the documentary.
But then you know, the Far Side came with like they found this kid Sanji, who had his great idea for Passing Me By, which was a very iconic video. The Far Side becomes kind of this cool group that everyone's starting to feel. Spike Jones wants to fuck with cool groups. So we of course were honored that we wanted Spike Jones to do it. He'd already done a lot of his iconic videos, like with the Beasties and Sabotage and all this other stuff. So having Spike Jones want to do a video was great. And he had this killer concept for Drop, which was a dope video. So the Far Side had some great visuals, but you know, always try and do dope videos, especially back then. Now too, you know, your visuals go with, you know, going with the music.
One of the best videos of all time, as far as I'm concerned. That's like,
which one?
Drop. One of the best videos of all time. Like,
incredible.
It's incredible.
Spike had him learn the song.
And every time I see it, I see something different. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that part before. Like, it's just incredible, man. It's amazing.
I still don't really know exactly how to do it, but they had to learn the song in reverse. So we had to get a linguist coach to coach them how to rap their rhymes in reverse, like their verses backwards, basically. Wow. So they had to rap. They couldn't get it totally, but as long as the mouth moved, because I guess you shot it backwards and then they had him go forward. So that's why it looks nuts.
Yeah.
The way, you know, it was a genius concept. He pulled it off. Those dudes were great in all their videos because they're all dancers and charismatic and funny as fuck. So they, you know, the Far Side, you know, they were G's. And so then trying to make their second record, you know, we made a really good first record. You know, Bizarre Ride to the Far Side is pretty much a classic. Getting into the second record, all of a sudden there's friction in the band, there's friction with the producer. Jay Swift is not getting along with them. So I sent them to New York because they wanted to go to New York to work with New York producers. Which, you know, so like Large Professor and Q-Tip wanted to take them around to some places. And they were in the studio with Q-Tip, I think it was in Jersey. And Q-Tip had this dude there named James Yancey, JD, who was this young kid that he had found out about, and he was playing Q-Tip beats for one of their records. Q-Tip was looking out for the Far Side. I guess, I'm not sure if it was the first beat that maybe he didn't want to use and he thought it might be cool for the Far Side to use. All I know is Trey from the Far Side called me up from the studio and played me Running the beat over the phone. and like, yo, this shit's crazy. You guys need to come back to LA and I'm going to bring that producer, because they explained a little bit who made the beats. There's this kid here named JD. He's got tons of crazy shit. I think he might have played me the bullshit beat or the drop beat as well over the phone. I mean, it's like, we got the producer who can kind of take them into the next thing, because Jay Swift was out.
Yeah.
And I got JD on a plane to LA, first time he ever came to LA, a month later, and started working with him and them on Lab Cabin.
Unbelievable.
So props to Q-Tip for passing on that beat and turning the Far Side on to JD.
Yeah.
And, rest in peace,
JD,
Jay Dilla.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
So from that point on, obviously, like, me and JD are thick as thieves. Like,
of course, you're both producers. Yeah.
It's like, I want him to fuck with everything we're doing. And this is 95. Because he's just blowing my mind with the beats and just, what he's doing. And just, you know it when you're around it, you know it when you hear it. So, me and Mod Dukes, I was always on the phone with Mod Dukes, sending acapellas and shit to JD, because then he'd fly back to Detroit, and he was starting to come up, but he was JD at that point.
Okay.
And then, Q-Tip and D'Angelo and Quest. I mean, everyone's getting hip to him. His first 12-inch, I think probably that a lot of people got turned on to him, probably was Running.
Probably.
I'm thinking, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, for like just dudes that didn't know him, like who really knew him yet. I think Running was like kind of his first like introduction as a producer by himself on some wax from a label that maybe wasn't like a super like indie label. So, and Running was dope. And so
Running was dope. Running was super dope.
So, JD is going to blow up from that point on.
Yeah.
And, his progression is well known, but that for those 2 or 3 years when I was able to just really work with him on a lot of our shit, he remixed and worked on a lot of shit on the label.
That's dope, man.
He remixed Brand New Heavy's shit.
Brand New Heavies is another
Heavies
group
and him were
amazing.
good. What's that?
I said Brand New Heavies is another group you had that's amazing.
Yeah, they were before the Far Side, actually. Yeah, that was in 1990. Yeah. I, heard them from a guy who works for me named Paul Mache, brought me an import album from England of this group. It kind of was like a mixture of like Tower Power, Average White Band, and Earth, Wind and Fire, sort of. And there were these, and I heard this record. It was incredible. Like a lot of instrumentals, funky. They were all playing live. It just was like, at this time also R&B was really like a lot of programming. It wasn't really a live scene happening at that time. And it's like, this is what the scene needs. And these kids are dope. They had a singer, but so I just called him to see what's up. It was on this record called Acid Jazz.
Okay.
And I talked to this Eddie Pillar, who's well known, and he was telling me that they're losing their singer, and they're out on this label Acid Jazz. I go, well, I'll sign you. I want to sign you guys. You guys are incredible. And I happen to have a singer out here that I'm working with, which was India Davenport, and I think she'd be really dope in this group. And let me talk to her, because she's working on a solo record for us right now. And I went up to India's apartment, played her the record, said they lost their singer. I'm signing them. I think this would be dope. It'd be like, Rufus and Chaka Khan. Like, this is perfect for you. And she loved their music. And that's how India and the Brand New Heavies came together.
Wow.
That was like 1990. So she got on their record that was already made. We added a couple songs. One of them was Never Stop. India sang over the songs that Stay This Way and Ride in the Sky and a couple other tracks that were on that first album. She redid the vocals, and boom, India Davenport and the Brand New Heavies were a group.
Wow.
And that's how a bunch of rappers got into that, obviously, because they play in New York. They'd hear the beats, and Q-Tip and cats would jump on stage and like freestyle over their beats.
Yep.
And that's how that concept for this Heavy Rhyme Experience record I'm telling you about came to pass. It was like, yo, we should make a record with their beats and just get all the dopest MCs from New York who were, everyone we were checking for right now.
To rap over this stuff.
To rap over this, and it'll be a concept, or it'll just be a record of their beats. And that's how Heavy Rhyme Experience happened. And Q-Tip actually ended up not being the guy who should have been all over the record, wasn't on that record, because I think Q-Tip wanted to just be on the record by himself with them. And I think as soon as we started, like, get Drez from Black Sheep, get Guru from Gangstar, I think he bowed out. I don't know if he would say that, but eventually I got to work with Q-Tip on a Brand New Heavies remix that JD did, that Sometimes remix.
Okay.
Which was a big record too. But
yeah.
Anyways, I'm all over the place. But
no.
That's how JD. That was early JD. That's how I make Frank Nitt and all the Detroit crew. Frank Nitt came out with him the second time, and he brought his friend out. So they were wide-eyed coming to LA for the first time from Detroit. He'd been to New York, but he hadn't been to LA yet.
LA, yeah.
So those early years in LA were, and then he met all the LA cats, and that's how I think Peanut Butter Wolf and all those other cats, B+, all these guys that started. They, cats that know what's up when they found out JD was in LA.
Mm-hmm. They tracked him down.
Like, let's find out what's up with this kid.
They tracked him down.
So
one last thing I want to ask you about. It was said early at the beginning of the show, you've taken your brand and moved it into a couple of places, which is dope. And I know you got this delicious pizza thing.
Yeah.
Which is doing really well, and you got a block party and stuff, and all this cool shit. Like you know what you guys always do, cool shit. I mean, to break it down really simply, you guys have always done cool shit. So tell me about this pizza thing.
So no, that was just kind of a side thing. Like 10 years ago, a friend of mine who I knew from back in the day, who's a designer, architect, builder, worked in a lot of cool clubs in New York. And then designed a lot of cool bars in LA, named Fred Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
He lived in West Adams, which is a part of LA that people who've been down in LA a lot would know. Like there's some clubs that used to go down back there in the early 90s, but it's a little bit of a rough area in LA, and kind of like wasn't what it used to be, but still all dope LA culture there, but not a lot of people were going over there anymore. Just it was a little bit rough over there.
Gotcha.
But he lived down there. He had this dope pad there. And I had some money at the time to like do something. I was like trying to do something with some real estate and still kind of have something to do with the label. So I bought this building on West Adams, and we always wanted to do food and do concept shit with the logo, because it's a guy eating a record.
Yeah,
so you could have the guy drinking coffee. You could have the guy doing whatever. And if you do something cool in whatever lane that is, you could have some dope branding already, because you're already co-signing on it with the label,
Yep.
Like you say, if you look at the label and you think it's cool, that's always been that's all I really kind of cared about, what I mean?
Yeah.
It can't be whack. The label can't be whack.
Yeah.
Because it's just like what I'm doing,
You want people to see it, and like with Def Jam, like or something like that. You
you
buy it on site, and then you listen to it.
It might not be as big, but you just whatever you do that's affiliated, you want it to be cool, and then let the chips fall where they may,
Exactly.
And there's a lot of things that keep things from going all the way. There's lucky breaks that happen as well on the business side. That there's a million stories there. That's a whole nother podcast. We can just go there. But which is part of, I think, maybe what you want. But
no. You're doing great, bro. I love all this creative energy. This is dope.
Yeah.
No, I love this.
I mean, for example, just real quick, because we can't go forever, but just on that front, Far Side, everyone knows the Far Side's dope. Everyone knows, Passing Me By video is incredible. The record had already built some radio juice. At that time, I have a deal with
with Atlantic?
Yeah, Atlantic. Yeah, I'm with East West, Sylvia Roan.
Yes,
So I make my deal with Atlantic, and then they think I'd fit better at East West, so I'm with Sylvia, because Sylvia's running East West at that time. So, and they got promotion staff and shit, but I got to fight to get my shit on the top, So I got to come with undeniable shit, or Sylvia's got 4 other records she would care about more. But Pass Me By started to become undeniable. because Your Mama was their first 12-inch, and it got a buzz. But then we dropped Passing Me By, and LA starts picking up on it. And then we get the video with the video that Sanji directed with them, Upside Down.
Mm-hmm.
And so that starts getting play on like maybe Yo MTV. But then the record starts blowing up. And the reason I'm telling this story, then it becomes, you can get full rotation at MTV. There'd be maybe 1 or 2 hip hop records that would get that.
Yeah.
Like from the Yo slot to like heavy hidden time, with all the other, whatever, Nirvana, whatever the fuck was going on right at that time. You're in the mix with all that. 92.
Yeah.
So everything that's huge. And there was only room for 1 hip hop record. And I don't know why I'm telling a story because this is the story that stands out. So we have Pass Me By with the dope video, and Russell's in there hitting for Onyx with Slam. There's 1 slot. It's either going to be LA based, Mike Ross coming up here, working connections that I still had. I have connections there with people at MTV, but there's power broker games going on, obviously at the highest level. And then there's Russell Simmons with Onyx, which also had a buzz, different type of record, different shit. And they even told me it's going to be one or the other, and they make the decision, and it's Onyx. And it's not that, Pass Me By didn't become a huge record. It never got those spins to kind of cross over, which it would have probably.
Yeah.
And that's like, that shit that happens. And there's a million people probably have a million stories like that. That's just one story that always sticks in my mind. Cause I always felt like if Pass Me By would have got that rotation.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just, who knows? It was so big. Obviously the groups, they were big.
Could have just
there's
been
levels,
There's levels, exactly. So what's next, man? What are you doing now?
So just back to the pizzeria is just
okay.
That was just we decided let's do delicious pizza because my friend Fred Sutherland's son was fucking with dough. He was like a dough master. He loved making his own food. He had this sourdough pizza dough recipe that was dope. We want, obviously, so here we go. We got to impress New York again. If we're going to do a slice or a pizza joint, we got to make sure it's going to be New York pizza and it's not going to be whack. So we worked on making sure the pizza was good. We have the logo. I'm going to make it like a hip hop style pizzeria. So, we'll just put up OG, like delicious vinyl, golden era memorabilia, and we'll just do kind of hip hop themed dope slice pizza joint. And then, we started doing, obviously I'm doing it. I'm going to do music events. So homies that are coming in from New York want to stop by. One thing leads to another, like Dougie Fresh is there. He comes all the time and we hang out. I mean, I started doing a block party in the street. KRS came, like my heroes and dudes that I always wanted to like deal with up close and personal. Try and get them to do me a favor or, pay them, but come do this block parties for the community. We're kind of this cool community building space on West Adams, bringing a lot of just all the heads together. So it was just kind of something I thought would be cool for that. So it's a business and it's more of like a community hub for just music in general.
So cool shit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what Delicious Pizza is. But owning a pizza restaurant, man, I'm not a restaurateur. That's hard work, man.
It's hard. I never had any desire to own a
That's hard work, man.
Never had
so, I got good people that run it day to day, but my partner, he had experience, Fred, got experience because he ran a dope diner called Fred 62, which was a cool joint in Los Feliz in LA that a lot of heads know about. So he had restaurant experience, but after 6 months, for whatever reason, he didn't want to deal with that part of it. And I didn't even know how to deal with that part of it because I'm bringing the memorabilia and the vibe and the music.
Yeah.
So kind of had to figure it out on the fly. So it's, it's a cool spot. People in the community love it. People love it. Cool. It's cool to see people, a place where we can meet up. If you come to LA, we'll meet up there. You know what I mean?
Definitely coming through,
So we do a block party every year. We didn't do one this year, but so I've had Kane has come and performed at the block party. Wow. KRS, Kane, Talib, Dougie Fresh, obviously, Master Ace. Wow. So we've had some cats come through there.
That's dope.
And it's just kind of do it So it's a free like block party on the street.
community and shit.
And a bunch of other heads coming from far side and performed, obviously.
Yeah.
So I have to pull favors, which now people don't like do favors anymore. So now it's hard to do that thing.
Yeah, everybody wants to get paid, you know?
Yeah.
So what's next, man? What's going on as we wind this down?
So I'm doing like an offshoot of Delicious Vinyl called Delicious Vinyl Island. So it's more messing with Caribbean artists. My girl Leslie Cooney, who's been with me since the early '92, she helped sign she brought the Born Jamaicans to the label. Wow. I don't know if you're familiar with the Born Jamaicans.
Yeah,
Mr. Vegas. She actually brought Shaggy to me. I actually didn't pull the trigger on Carolina when I could have. So there's one I blew.
Yeah, we all got
those. So we've kind of started a label. Adrian Miller is also kind of a silent partner. He's part of it. Adrian can never be silent, so he'd be mad if I said that. But on the A&R side, it's more like Leslie, you know, and bringing me music and her finding talent in the Caribbean and all over. Artists that we've worked with before, new artists that we want to like try and give a platform to because there's so much dope shit coming out of there. So Mr. Vegas, we still, you know, put out records with Mr. Vegas occasionally, but we have like this kid Black Hero we're working with now. It's a great young artist. Kaylin Arnold is another newer artist that we're working with. A bunch of cool art, like, you know, we put out a bunch of cool records on some other artists you might not know. This Kid Yardcore, who used to be Protege's DJ. He's a dope kind of traditional, kind of not really dance hall, but just straight vibes, reggae artist. We put out an album on him. I'm not really thinking clearly on all those artists right now, but I like working with those young talent. There's this new kid, Justice, the artist. He's in New York right now, incredible singer. So just trying to develop some newer artists. So we have a pretty good catalog of music we put out on that label since about 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So just trying to find new and stuff that inspires me. We're going to put out this Delicious Vinyl doc. Just trying to, you know, just follow the music, I obviously don't have to work like I had to before. I'm not, crazy, but I like to, I play a little tennis sometimes. I used to play a shitload of basketball, but my knees are gone.
Yeah.
So no more hoops for me.
Yeah.
Still go to Laker games. I'm a Laker season ticket holder from way back. So
that's dope.
And just trying to keep it moving, man.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate this, Michael. This was amazing. You can catch Mixed and Mastered on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hit that follow button, leave a review, and tell a friend. I'm your host, Jeffrey Sledge. Mixed and Mastered is produced and distributed by Merrick Studios.